All right. We live now.
Yeah,
Callahan.
we are good.
You were on a roll there.
He's up to no good, Shattuck. He's got a few days left. Just look at him. Look at on the screen here. He's got that look in his eye like he is up to no good. He's going to set us up. You know why? Because his new boss loves that stuff, and he's going to say, "Oh, did you do that? Did you make fools of Shattuck and Callahan when you did whatever?"
No, not
started
true.
recording, and they were having a personal conversation. I think.
You know what's disgusting, Gerry, is that
Shattuck.
Not true.
is that Callahan has started to spray tan just to be like Portnoy.
No, it's actually I'm in a good mood today. Shattuck knows this. Shattuck and I talk about dumb little media and tech stuff behind the scenes all the time. I might be training my replacement right now. He's not on camera, but I'm having a great conversation with a possible future producer.
Ooh.
And I'm in a good mood. What do you want from me?
Can you believe this, Shattuck? I gave Callahan the responsibility of interviewing the finalists because I obviously don't know the technical side like he does or you do. And I said, I need to know if these guys are capable of doing what you do. So Callahan, and he's doing a good job. He's actually into it. I thought you'd blow it off, but he's actually talking to the final couple of guys who I like to see if they could handle the job. It's hard to believe that someone could be so dumb that they can't do what Callahan does. But they, believe it or not, they're out there. I interviewed a couple.
They're out there. They're out there.
I told the story that, and I don't have to worry about this person hearing this because after our 20-minute interview, he said he had a question for me. And I said, sure. And he said, how do you find your podcast?
That's great.
Oh God, I want those 20 minutes back.
Go to the Apple Podcast directory. If you look at the top of the charts, it's the one right underneath the Burn Barrel. All right, that's
right.
Thank you.
It's right between Burn Barrel and Joe Rogan, and there I am. And even if you didn't know, wouldn't you say, "I'll Google it, I'll find out, I'll ask someone"? You're asking me, and by the way, half my questions are about: do you have the technical ability to do this? And he's making the case. And maybe he does, but he just doesn't care. It's like I tell this story occasionally. I have a friend who has an PhD from MIT in biochemistry or biophysics, some ridiculous thing, but he's brilliant and he invents things. He has patents. I used to play basketball with him. He's a good friend. And he asked me to go have coffee with him because he wanted to talk about something. And I said, sure. And I went up for coffee and we're sitting at this place out this picnic table. And he brings out this paper. And it's like a, 40, 50 page paper that he did on how to cure coronavirus. He literally came up with a whole, and I don't even understand it, but this was last summer. And he said, I got to get the word out. I think this is it, the key. And it was about copper. That's all I understood. Like the element of copper, if you get it in your bloodstream, it prevents corona, the whole thing. And I kept it. I have it. And I show people occasionally and I was hoping someone would cure coronavirus or develop a vaccine with copper. And I'd say, my guy had that first. But anyway, last thing we're talking, I'm about to say goodbye. And he says, man, I really miss you on the radio. I used to listen all the time. I said, I'm on every day. I do a podcast. And he looks at me and goes, I don't know how to do those things.
Yep.
Well,
I said, this is, I thought, the smartest person I knew. And he does. I go, Brian, it's really easy. I hate to say it. You take your phone, you go to the little icon, boom, boom, you're done. He goes, that's too confusing.
We said I can't tell you the amount of people that we have to I give them a link, I show them on the phone, and they still can't access it.
I did it with a couple people the other night. I just took their phones. I see this little purple thing, your iPhone, boom, boom. They went, wow.
Yes.
I mean, it's easier than listening to the radio. Easier than, and that's why it's the new wave. That's why people, younger people, that's why I think a growing number of people are not listening to the radio at all, because podcasts are so much easier. You do it on your time. Once you're done with this one, you go to the Burn Barrel. Once you're done with the Burn Barrel, you go to some barstool pod. What do you go to? Spitting Chicklets? Now it's
you go to the Kirk Minahan show. I mean, come on, what are you doing over here? It's
I've heard of
it. Real.
But he doesn't do it every day. some of us, I don't either. But I assume, and it's also seasonal. The way radio used to be, with Callahan, he'll listen to Spittin' Chicklets because it's hockey time. If you're into golf, there are golf podcasts. There's certainly football, a million football podcasts. And if it's election season or it's, social unrest, civil unrest season. There are podcasts you can listen to if you want to hear the mainstream media mocked relentlessly. You come here because we're going to do that today. God, we have two examples of just, I don't even know how to describe the single dumbest people in the most powerful, influential people in positions in the media. And it just will blow you away how idiotic, how moronic these people are, even though they're winning, even though they got their guy in the White House, even though they control the media, they control big tech, they're not happy. They're not happy because let me see. I want to quote quickly. Well, before I don't want to get to her yet. Maura Gay from the New York Times. I'll give you a tease. She said we're having trouble in America separating America from whiteness. And she goes on and on and on, and you will not believe it. You just you shared this with me, Shattuck. I just listened to it. It is the single dumbest analysis, the single dumbest soundbite I have ever heard. And we also have the single dumbest tweet from Jamel Hill, which is saying something. You know, that's like having to be in the greatest clutch performance from Larry Bird. You know, or the greatest shot from Tiger Woods. The dumbest tweet from Jamel Hill. It's time to call off the competition. No one is in her league. Even if you count Cullinane, who can't write a simple sentence. We're going to go Jamel Hill. Let's go to Jamel Hill. Let's start with Jamel Hill. This is about Joe Manchin, and nobody's surprised. Joe Manchin is not going to get rid of the filibuster. Joe Manchin is a Democrat who votes almost exclusively with the Democrats, but this is so radical, this overhauling the whole election system, nationalizing it, allowing more fraud, allowing more cheating, outlawing ID. You can't ask for ID. If you look at this HR 1, it is the single most radical thing I've ever seen that's being considered by the U.S. Senate. It's really outrageous. And Manchin, to his credit, says, that's nuts. I'm with you most of the time, Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, but not on this. It is insane, this HR 1. So he says, no, I'm not getting rid of that. I'm not voting for that. I'm not getting rid of the filibuster. The filibuster, which last year was used 300 times by the Democrats. This year, it's racist.
It's a Jim Crow relic, Jerry.
It's a tool of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamel Hill, pop that back up there for me. Jamel Hill writes, after the AP reports that Manchin's not going to support getting rid of the filibuster, she says, this is so on brand for this country. Record numbers of black voters show up to save this democracy, only for white supremacy to be upheld by a cowardly, power-hungry white dude. Joe Manchin is a clown. Now, I say this all the time, but Jamel Hill is a bad writer. She's not a good writer. I mean, she's pedestrian. She worked for The Atlantic here. She was on ESPN, failed miserably. She had a show in the prime slot, 6 p.m. with Michael Smith. It was a disaster in the ratings. She left there, and she just keeps falling up. I mean, she.
I don't get it, Jerry. I mean,
I've
only ever seen her suck at stuff. She reminds me of like Mark Bellhorn. I only ever saw him get out in 2004. I've never seen her do anything.
I don't get why she gets like hosting opportunities. Like she gets to be a premier talent. If you want to be an analyst on MSNBC, that's one thing. They're a dime a dozen. That's where she belongs. I don't understand why she gets.
I think you do. I think this is what company. I'll give you an example. She gets fired by ESPN because, I mean, you really got to fail if you're Jamel Hill and they get rid of you. They probably paid her off, but she leaves there. She gets hired by The Atlantic, which used to be a magazine. Now it's a joke. It's just another, media wing of the mob, total radical. I mean, the Atlantic, best known for just making up quotes from Trump about the troops so that Joe Biden can use them in the campaign and use them and then effectively just made up this nonsense about Trump calling the troops losers and all that. And immediately Biden campaign used it. There's no attribution. It's anonymous people around Trump. Everyone knows he didn't really say it. Everyone knows they just made it up, but they were part of the Biden campaign and it worked. So, that's what Atlantic is, a tool of the woke mob now. Anyway, they hire her, even though she's a lousy writer, but she just drops bombs, throws bombs, and I guess they like that. Bill Simmons from The Ringer was he was under, I guess you'd say he's under fire. He did a podcast 1 year ago, last June, with Ryan Russillo, his friend and his employee, and they talked about the George Floyd riots. They talked about Minnesota burning, police stations burning, stores getting looted, and I assume they looked at video. And Russillo said something like, "Looks like those people are more interested in just getting some Air Jordans."
Ooh.
When he saw them literally
getting Air Jordans,
looting a Foot Locker. I mean, he was literally stating a fact, I believe, and maybe adding some commentary. But so what? It was looting. I mean, you're not supposed to be in favor of looting, lawlessness. The New York Times came after him, said it was inappropriate to have white guys analyzing the news. And the reaction was, eventually, this was recently, Russillo apologized for being white, essentially. Said we apologize for being two white guys talking about the news. You can't do that.
Right.
And Simmons hired a human shield, probably more than one. He hired Jamel Hill to do a podcast about the Wire, a show that's been off the air for 15 years. A podcast, I'm sure, that has, you have more chickens in your coop than she has listeners to this podcast, but it doesn't matter. That he needed a human shield because the New York Times got hold of his employees or his list, his masthead, and found out how many white guys or how many people of color were working there. And they said, "Oh, shame on you. You only have 3 podcasts with black people, and you have 27 podcasts led by white people." And they did the whole typical New York Times breakdown. And of course, Bill Simmons did what corporations do now. He bent to the mob and he apologized and started hiring people of color, including Jamel Hill. That's how she gets jobs, even though she's not particularly good at them. Shattuck.
She's so stupid. I mean, there's talent. If you need to hire a black woman, Sunny Hostin from The View is somebody who can string a thought together. Kimberly Atkins, who used to be at the Herald. I mean, they're good liberal progressive thinking people. But she's just so vacuous. I don't get it.
I think Sunny Hostin has the greatest job in media. I mean, she just babbles with a couple other women for how long is that? An hour a day, and
well, she's by far the smartest one. I mean, you got Whoopi and Joy Behar. You're gonna look smart no matter what.
That's the world's tallest midget, as Frank DeFord used to say, in kind of boasting about his talent. He'd said, they say he was the best sports writer. He said that's like being the world's tallest midget. I don't think he could say that anymore, but that was the title of the book. But it doesn't matter. She's outspoken. I tweeted back at her, and so did everybody else. The idea that Joe Manchin is supposed to vote with Pelosi, a radical San Francisco Democrat, to completely overhaul the election system and outlaw checking IDs when 80% of the public thinks we should check IDs.
Yeah,
it's outrageous. And as I tweeted, Trump beat Biden by 39 points. Trump beat Hillary by 42 points in West Virginia. It's the reddest state in America. So their senator is supposed to side with Pelosi and Schumer over his constituents, because otherwise, I mean, if he sides with his constituents, she says that's cowardly,
right,
and racist.
He's supposed to be siding with the constituents in the Bronx, New York, according to them. Right. But it's the best thing in the world for him, because he can go home to West Virginia and say, "Look, all these wackos hate me. I must be doing something right." But they're right.
But you've seen his voting record, right? He's with Biden 98% of the time. The idea that he's and people were tweeting this saying he should just leave the party. Leave the party. He is mostly with the Democrats, but this was so radical, even for him. He said can't do it, and neither can Kristen Sinema in Arizona. And immediately they're the bad guys because they're voting to keep the filibuster, which the Democrats used 300 times last year.
Right. And
and Barack Obama says it's a tool of white supremacy. Barack Obama, who supported it, obviously, 8 years ago, was a big fan of the, talked about it. But now he's not. But these people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These are alleged intellectuals who are saying things this stupid that this means by the way, she said black voters saved the democracy. Trump's numbers went up among black voters, among Hispanic voters. They went up from the year he got elected to the year that he got defeated. Black voters didn't save the democracy. I don't even understand what that means, saving the democracy. It's just one of these catchphrases they use now to make it seem like the world is, the sky is falling and the Proud Boys are about to overthrow the government. It's so bizarre. But
well, the funny thing is that if we're wall-to-wall white supremacists, then you wouldn't want, gerrymandering to be part of the FEC. You wouldn't want some government hack, which should probably run by, so far most we have white men presidents, so that's white supremacy. Right. So you want all the districts to be done federally by somebody at the FEC? This is craziness. You want, this bill would have us have people register 16-year-olds to vote. I mean, we have a country of white supremacists. You want the Hitler Youth to be out there registering to vote at 16?
It is so silly, and people don't know. It's 800 pages, HR 1. And
remember, Gerry, up until November 3rd of last year, this election had been stolen by the Republicans and Trump.
Right.
It was a given. Point. They had used the post office. They had used other ways to suppress the election. Had already been stolen. To their surprise, the next day, somehow they got it back. But, if they're really worried about that, then voter harvesting should be something that you're scared to hell of. The idea that somebody goes to a nursing home and says, I'll fill out the ballots for you. I got it from here. Jesus.
It is designed to make it easier to cheat, and easier to cheat and easier to vote. That's what it's all about. And Manchin knows it, and so does the Senate. So does everybody. But Mitt Romney would love to vote with Pelosi on some of this stuff, just because he is, hates MAGA people, and he likes to be the contrarian, the rebel. But even he looked at that and said, "You got to be kidding."
They know it's stupid, but that's why we're changing history. They know it's stupid, but that's why we're changing history, Gerry. That's why 2 days ago we celebrated the Tulsa massacre. Which June 6, 1944 was simply an anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. And that's why Biden was out there.
Biden, first president in modern history to not mention the anniversary of D-Day, which you'd think. Right. Even for a radical Democrat like Biden, you'd think you got to throw a bone to the veterans. This is the single greatest thing. You could make the case the greatest thing this country's ever done. We defeated Nazism. This was the most important day. This was a day. This was day. 2,500 American boys and men gave their lives. And many of them knew they were giving their lives. Hell, the officers certainly knew. The generals knew they were giving their lives, sacrificing their lives to stop the greatest evil in modern history. They did it. It was incredibly heroic. Everyone's seen Saving Private Ryan. It was frightening. Mm-hmm. It was the most courageous thing you'll ever see. And our president, who you think at 78 is about the same age as some of the veterans, you think. He was alive when it happened. He was alive. You think he would make it a point to say, sit down, Susan Rice, Barack, I got this. I know you hate this country, and I know you don't like to salute and honor veterans, but I'm doing it anyway. And he didn't do it. And there's no question that that's by design. There's no question that somebody is in a circle said you might want to say something about the veterans. You might want this is a sacred day. And he said, nah, I'm good. We'll talk about Tulsa and white supremacy and whatever, we'll make up more of this nonsense, this narrative. And I know there are emails out there. Maybe we'll see them someday, or texts. It's a coordinated effort by the by the media to to change the narrative completely and to lie. Can we just call this white supremacy nonsense just a lie? Biden uses Nazi terminology. He said that Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz participated, told the big lie. The big lie is a Nazi reference. So our president, long before, Marjorie Taylor Greene, an insignificant backbencher, used the term or used a Nazi reference. Joe Biden did. And he did it many times. Democrats did it all the time. The big lie. They compared Trump to Hitler 1,000 times. Right. The big lie is a vile term. You're accusing senators of using, Nazi tactics because they did what Democrats do all the time. They questioned, objected to the certification of the election. Anyway, the The big lie right now, Shattuck, is that white supremacists are significant. White supremacists are relevant.
The biggest domestic threat, Jerry, to the homeland is white supremacy.
It's
Next
so
is
bizarre.
climate change.
Right.
No. But
Okay,
you're right.
that's
And
two
actually,
big lies.
you just mentioned it. White supremacists and the Nazis. You'd figure that maybe D-Day was had some correlation to Nazis, right? Erwin Rommel was at least alt-right, I think, right? And Hitler was a white supremacist.
Were they involved in that? The Nazis, were they involved? I mean, you see those interviews like Man on the Street, and people don't even know, when World War II was, who we defeated. They it's just so people are so stupid. People that got their education in the public school system in the last 30 years know nothing. They know they're racist. Nope. They're white. They know climate change is the greatest threat in the world history. And if we don't do something, we're all going to die in 8 years.
Yes.
They don't
World
know.
War II, you're right. World War II, we skip right over the internment, that camps. We skip right over those. Those don't happen. Then nothing happens in history. Then we use the Tuskegee Airmen, and then we experiment on them, and then that's over. That's the end of World War II. All the other stuff doesn't matter. It's just white supremacists.
And I think in World War II, weren't we fighting climate change? Is that why we were that's why we dropped the bomb, right? To stop climate change?
Well, that's why we can't use nuclear, actually. That's a good point, Jerry.
Yeah.
The joint session of Congress, according to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacists.
That is so just dishonest, and it's so brazen. Everybody knows it's not true. They clap because they want to advance the narrative. This is the new boogeyman. Trump's gone, essentially. They need someone to blame for all the troubles in the world. So it's white supremacists. And as we've said before, can you name one? President, can you name one?
Well, the CNN guy, Richard Spencer,
for weeks, is the cute girl from the office. Is clearly a white supremacist.
Right. They showed. Did you see her? Yesterday, they came out with her political donations. She apologized, obviously, for taking part in the debutante ball that had racist roots. All she does is give to Democrats. I mean, all of them. She gives a fortune in donations to political action committees and to Democrats. She's a hardcore lefty. It's absurd, but it's this.
I know one. I found one, Jerry. The president of Guatemala.
Oh, that's a good one.
He was stern with Kamala, and some protesters there were white supremacists.
There was a couple of white supremacists at Fenway Park yesterday, but we'll get to that. We have to get to, and we played the single dumbest tweet I've seen in a long time. But again, it's just a Jamel Hill tweet, so that's a redundant. But the idea, if Biden and his crew and Kamala Harris and whoever were going to make up this nonsense about white supremacy with no evidence, and which flies in the face of all the facts today. I'll give you an example. Chicago over the weekend. You want to guess the number who was shot over the weekend? Shattuck?
I will say 26.
Nice try. 63. 63 one weekend in June. 6 are dead. One is an 11-year-old kid.
Those were all cops who shot those people, I assume.
Yeah, all white cops.
Yeah.
And they were unarmed. Yes. It's so, how many people were killed by white supremacists on, let's just pick a day, January 6th in Washington, D.C.? That would be 0. But
no. The very fabric of our democracy was torn, Jerry.
That's right. They were this close to installing Viking Man as our new God King. It was close, Shattuck, but they failed. So, nice try, and we're locked down. We're locked down forever.
So, Jerry, since 63 people were shot in Chicago now, the remedy, according to Lori Lightfoot now, is that police can't pursue people with guns on foot anymore.
That's going to fix everything. That is going to solve the problem. They can't chase guys. So, by the way, all these radical DAs, including Rachel Rollins in Boston, are decriminalizing resisting arrest. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, off the top of the head. They're decriminalizing lots of stuff like shoplifting and, thoughts and prayers to anyone who owns a store, because people can just shoplift. If they get caught, they say, give it back. Now go home. Don't do it again. It's just insane. They're
insured, Jerry.
If you can't charge someone with resisting arrest and you can't chase someone, what's the disincentive for committing a crime? Whether it's, carjacking or, robbing a store or stealing an old lady, if they take like a purse snatch, and they're
Mhm.
running. The cops now are told don't chase them. So why?
Yeah.
What's the downside to grabbing a purse or stealing a car and taking off?
No, and you're treated like a hero on TV. Absolutely. And plus, you're told that these places have insurance, so you can steal all the Burberry purses you want. Remember last year at this time in Chicago, Jerry, the dudes drove their cars into storefronts. No cops, no nothing.
You saw
Everything free.
that video in San Fran where they just go in the restaurants and they take food and they walk out because they're not going to charge them. They're not going to chase them. So they're like, what the hell? Why would we pay? Go in and grab, go to the salad bar, make a salad, and hit the road. But the whites is one thing, he says is worse than ISIS and in Al Qaeda, which I don't know. White supremacists knocked down any skyscrapers in our big cities lately? Have they, blown up any? They shot up any nightclubs in Orlando? I mean, it's just so absurd. And
but also, Jerry, it's like,
here's how we know, Shattuck, that the media is completely in the tank. Is they're running with this nonsense. They're talking every day on MSNBC and CNN about January 6th. They're celebrating the fact that people who trespassed are in solitary confinement going on 5 months, more than 5 months, in solitary confinement for trespassing or disorderly conduct. They're okay with that. They're their fellow citizens, but they don't want them to have due process. They don't want them to have a chance to make bail. Just keep them in there. Let them rot. They're white supremacists without evidence. And it's just amazing. I know Biden will read anything they put on the teleprompter, but does anyone say that's a little bridge too far to make the case that white supremacy is worse than Al Qaeda, ISIS, Antifa, Black Lives Matter? I mean, people can see, they have eyes. They know that cities are burning. They know that the federal courthouses are being set ablaze and stores have been looted. There's been 275 riots since George Floyd at some level in some city. There's been one January 6th where nobody except Ashley Babbitt was shot. It was the first unarmed insurrection, and it failed, but they're never gonna let it go. That is my long-winded introduction to the single dumbest thing ever said on cable news, and I got to give Shattuck credit. He saw it first. I played it this morning, Shattuck, and I told Callahan we have to cut it up because it is to appreciate its utter insanity and stupidity. You have to have different sections of this because it's just so stupid. Keep this in mind. This is a New York Times person who's on the editorial board of the New York Times making decisions on a once powerful newspaper. This is the woman who went on with Brian Williams during the election and said, when they looked at the amount of money that Michael Bloomberg was spending, she said that he could give every citizen in America $1 million. That would make he'd be spending less money than he was on the campaign. Brian Williams and she agreed. That makes sense. They did the math. Every person, 330 million people, he could give $1 million to. That's how dumb this person is, but she's, checks all the right boxes. So she's one of the most powerful people in the media. And this is her analogy. I don't even know what the question was, Callahan, because she just goes off on this tangent on all the troubles of the world. And wait till you hear what really concerned her over the weekend.
A large percentage of the American population, I don't know how big it is, but we have tens of millions of Trump voters who continue to believe that their rights as citizens are under threat by simple virtue of having to share the democracy with others. I think as long as they see Americanness as the same as one with whiteness, this is going to continue. We have to figure out.
What? Shattuck, you're a smart guy. Can you explain that? As long as they think America is one with whiteness. Can you enlighten me? I mean, obviously, this is Joe Scarborough. He's a moron. Right. And Mika, when this is over, says, I agree with everything you said. Can you help me out? What does that mean? You see America as the same as whiteness? How does that manifest?
I don't know. Does that mean that they gravitate towards Judeo-Christian values? Maybe is that what it is? Nuclear families.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, you think of America as a place where you could raise a family and And
right, you believe in the American dream based on your privilege, so you can make it as a writer for a big paper and then get into sports talk radio because you were handed a bunch of privileges.
Or this
And
person who's on the editorial board, probably
Mhm.
making a couple of $100,000, and who's dumb as a rock, and she is saying that if you are white like you and me doing this little podcast, we're privileged. She's not.
yeah, and she's also saying that tens of millions of Trump voters who are upset at the fact that they have to share certain rights with the rest of the country. I don't even know what the hell that means. It's
By the way,
it's
here's what if you were in school and this was an oral report or a written report, you'd say, okay, right here, teacher's grading it. She put a little line, and I'd say over here, examples.
yes.
How does that manifest itself? The white people who associate Americanness with whiteness. What do you mean? And if and you got to write anything besides January 6th question mark, where people are being punished like they committed murder for trespassing. I'd say they don't feel like they're privileged or they don't feel like they're getting away with anything. Give me examples. What's her name again? Mara Gay.
You're right. You would figure in any kind of real dissertation, you would have to provide citation for what you mean. So these Trump voters feel disaffected. How? Where's the number? How does it manifest itself exactly? How do you justify saying that? But they don't have to justify any premise. They can just say the premise there, and the justification is white supremacy.
Right.
That's it. That's as deep as the answer has to be. And the fact that you question it just proves white supremacy.
And by the way, this is a woman who 100% supports a 78-year-old white guy, former close friend of Robert Byrd, who said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Who said that poor kids are just as smart as white kids, who's said 100
blacks can't
things.
Use the internet.
Blacks can't, right.
The same guy who was the author, the proud author of the mass incarceration bill in 1994.
That's her guy. But let's hear from more EDC from Mara.
How to get every American a place at the table in this democracy, but how to separate Americanness, America, from whiteness. Until we can confront that and talk about that, this is really going to continue. I was on Long Island this weekend visiting a really dear friend, and I was really disturbed. I saw, dozens and dozens of pickup trucks with, explicatives against Joe Biden on the back of them, Trump flags, and some cases just dozens of American flags, which is also just disturbing because essentially the message was clear. It was, this is my country. This is not your.
All right. We got a whole. I just want to.
Mara Gay is definitely not going to watch the Country Music Awards tomorrow night. I can confirm that right now.
Of course, which
explicatives.
Well, again, this is one of the most powerful people in America, one of the most privileged. She doesn't even know. We've already gone over the fact that she struggles in math, but now we're talking English. Explicatives. What did she say?
Explicatives
about Joe Biden. And again, if you go Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, and you know what? If there's anything that those two hate, it's white privilege, Shattuck. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski and Mike Barnacle and Willie Geist hate white privilege. They're tired of it. They want to end it. But anyway.
Well, by the way, shouldn't an explicative against Joe Biden be welcome? He's a white guy married to a white woman of privilege who lives in a mansion with 2 German shepherds, one of whom is very violent.
Yes. And he has a son. He has 6 grandkids, actually 7, but one of them was with a stripper, so he doesn't count her. That's what kind of guy he is. Don't count the stripper's kid, even though it's a kid. Anyway, let's get back to Mara Gay. She says expletives about Joe Biden. Okay, just give me an example. Again, I'm writing in the margins on the report. Good little anecdote. Tell me some examples. What does the sign say? What does the bumper sticker say? Secondly, does anyone believe she saw dozens of pickup trucks with Trump flags or Biden, expletives? Does anyone believe that? Anyone? Show of hands. Do you believe that?
There are some places in Long Island that are big first responder communities where you could see some explicatives and pickup trucks.
Yeah, and they could have been a gathering, right? I've seen a gathering before.
So we go from that, and it's like when my old friend there, Chelsea Handler, was up in my neighborhood, Maine, and said she was out and saw hundreds of Confederate flags. Just a flat out lie. And I called her on it, didn't hear back, but just a flat out lie. I've been going to that place for 25 years and never seen one, not one. There are no Confederate flags where she was staying, zero. And by the way, she's trying to buy a house up here, which is what you'd do if you thought you were surrounded by white supremacists and Klansmen. You'd say, I want to buy a house and live there forever. But anyway, it's a lie. Mara Gay is lying. Chelsea Handler was lying. But worse than that is her reaction to seeing American flags. Can you imagine? I always put it to the grandfather test. Your grandfather or father hearing that people are disturbed by seeing the American flag. I mean, again, this is a couple of days after D-Day.
Mm-hmm.
She is one of the most privileged people in America. She's a dummy, and she's on the New York Times editorial board. I'm going to guess making, what'd you say, 250,000 plus more to go on MSN. She's probably making 300 and something thousand a year, and she doesn't know how to say expletives or doesn't know that Michael Bloomberg doesn't have enough money to give $1 million to every American. She's just not
right. Well, and also, in Black history, the American flag actually plays a big role. The first Black Medal of Honor winner was William Carnegie, the guy from Boston who was saving the flag when he got shot again and again and again and again and again, and didn't even let the flag touch the ground. The guy was left for dead, essentially. He was a Union soldier for the Civil War, but he did it for the flag. This guy's a hero. There's entire monuments about this guy. The Tuskegee Airmen, they're all patriots. Have you ever interviewed any of these guys? I did for the Herald. It was a highlight of my career there. They're all patriotic. They all fly the flag. They all love this country.
What percentage of this country, red states or blue, think seeing the American flag is disturbing? That is a bizarre opinion. To think that you're an American, you got it made. You are living a life of privilege, Mara Gay, and the American flag on Long Island is disturbing you. Do we have any more from the brilliant, the talented Mara Gay?
I own this. And so until we're ready to have that conversation, this is going to continue. What really is concerning to me as well is it's not just Democrats in Congress. I think there's a large percentage of Americans, even some of my colleagues in journalism, who are invested in some way in pretending that this isn't the threat that it is. That is the real concern. Because, the Trump voters who are not going to get on board with democracy, they're a minority. You can marginalize them long term. But if we don't take the threat seriously, then I think we're all in really bad shape.
Notice everything she says.
Mika says I agree with everything you said, but anyway.
Everything she said is anecdotal.
God, you're right. You want to follow up question, say, what threat? What are you talking about? I understand why Biden's doing it, why he's lying to the country, lying to the world, saying our biggest threat is white supremacists. On a weekend where 63 people were shot, including a child in Chicago, which is going to, that number will be close to that again next weekend, where, there are Antifa scum burning buildings every night, destroying businesses, whole blocks in Minneapolis, a rubble, never to return. Our biggest threat is, and I wish I had a name, like you'd say David Duke, but everyone knows he's a cartoon character. He wields no power, has no influence. I mean, you're supposed to say the Viking man who's still in jail getting his organic food.
Tucker Carlson. Say his name. Tucker Carlson.
You know what? You're probably right. If they pinned her down and said, give me a name, it would be, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Greg Gutfeld, and
yes, Tucker Carlson, based on Gerry replacement theory.
Right.
Another nuanced pie in the sky thing that's not tangible in an argument. Because you mentioned replacement. Aha, yes. We see now.
But think of, she says it with such confidence, and there's 5 people on the panel, and no one calls her out, no one presses her. That's the media today, just one big echo chamber. We're talking about the threat. And you want to say, what are you talking about? What is the threat? Let me know so I can be concerned. I want to be prepared. What threat? That
whiteness,
morons,
Gerry.
You know what will never, ever, ever happen again in your lifetime, in the next, your children's and grandchildren's lifetime, is no group of red-hatted morons are going to storm the Capitol. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a group of, pro-abortion fanatics who will storm the Capitol the next time some Brett Kavanaugh type is nominated, they'll storm the Capitol, start screaming, disrupt our democracy. That's okay. 0 arrests, no coverage, no big deal. But when people did it on January 6th, it was, what are they calling it? The worst act of political violence since the Civil War.
The War of 1812. Yes.
Worse than 9/11. It's comical, and it's all by design. I'm not sure someone like Mara Gay or Max Boot knows they're being used by the current administration, but they are. They're being told this threat is the worst thing we've ever faced, and they don't have to fill in the blanks. They don't have to explain it. Just run with it. It's worse.
But Mara Gay is she's just an elite progressive. She, runs in the corners of the elite. She hangs out in beautiful places in Manhattan. So once in a while has to drive through Long Island, where she might happen upon a pond where some first responders
visiting a dear friend. Even that's noble. I went in MAGA country.
Oh yes,
to visit a dear friend, not to go to the beach.
I was doing something selfless, just so you know. Yeah, but she reminds me of you have every year you have the people of Amherst, Massachusetts, trying to get rid of the flags down in the city streets of Amherst because it's imperialist and it's intimidating and scary and it's hurtful. So this is like, she's a tiny niche who only has her anecdotal experiences to talk about. The what's ridiculous and Stelter-esque is that Scarborough just sits there and takes it, and she's talking about whiteness. Whiteness.
And Mika, who I believe is Jamaican, part Haitian. I believe Mika says, "Oh, I agree with everything you said." I mean, this brainless old white woman sitting there going, "Oh, this white privilege is such a problem, Mayor. We got to do something about it. How about you step down? Let someone else sit next to your hubby, or get rid of him too. Why don't you give Mara Gay the gig?" Anyway, it's just madness. And I always wonder, everyone wonders, like, what next? What's the next extreme thing? I mean, today, you watch biological boys just beat the crap out of biological girls on the playing field in track or basketball. And you say, how do we get to that point? 20 years, 30 years ago, they'd say this is insane. Girls used to matter. Now girls are just collateral damage to advance this radical progressive agenda. And it's just like people think it's a human right for a transgender girl to beat up on girls. So do you think in 10, 15, 20 years that the flag will be no different than the Confederate flag? The American flag will be no different than the Confederate flag? I mean, what's next? This pendulum?
But also, Jerry, you're right. But who cares about the Confederate flag? Who cares? Like, is it hurtful at all? I mean, my ancestors were probably on the Union side of the Civil War. Maybe they were killed by Confederate. Who cares? It's just a freaking flag. It was on the General Lee and Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, and we were all okay. None of us converted.
Right? It was on. Which one of the Lincoln Project guys had a cooler? Was it Rick?
Yeah, his wife had a
Wilson
cooler. The South will rise again
with a Confederate flag on it, and he's the one saying it's worse than a swastika. It's just, you're right. It's a flag. It's pretty much frowned upon on polite society. It's not a threat. I just I'm all for listening. If you say we are under siege by white supremacists, just tell me how and whom, and I'll listen. Tell me where they are. Are they like in the hills right now, loading up their muskets? Are they going to come get us? I mean, I want to know.
And what are we doing wrong? What is this whiteness that we're doing wrong?
Right. No, I'll be Brian Stelter. Yeah. Could you tell us, what are we getting wrong, Maya? Could you tell me?
Day to day, how are we fucking up? And please, just point it out to me, and I'll flog myself in front of you, please.
Busy summer ahead, infrastructure, election reform. What does the press get wrong when covering Biden's agenda? When you watch the news, when you read the news, what do you think we get wrong?
And then he says, I have a kid in kindergarten. You have a kid in kindergarten. Are you worried about them because of all this GOP madness? And I'm like, what GOP madness? What is the GOP doing? They're in the minority. They lost the White House. They don't have any power in the media. What are you talking about, you big potato? But I got to plug here the latest Shattuck Substack. This one's only for paying customers because Shattuck goes off the rails beautifully. It reads like a Playboy or Penthouse forum letter about Steltler, the what do you call when you're you want to be dominated? You're the submissive one, and you want to be whipped. You want to be degraded and whipped by a dominatrix. What is that person called?
Are they the subject? I'm not sure.
The submissive one. I know the masochist.
I don't know the word, but it sounds a lot like me personally. So I don't know what it is.
Well,
it's right on point.
I know it does. That's why you took the job you took.
Well, it's like it's call her daddy, right? They're saying it's degrade me. I'm all about it. Just degrade.
Yes, spit on me. Who was it? Who was the cooking lady who Rachel Ray, her husband? I can't even say it without getting sick.
What did he do?
He hired hookers to spin on him.
He did?
In his face, I believe. Yes. He wanted to be spit on.
Man, I met him and her.
Did you spit on him?
No, but it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It was his mother called down from her room and he's standing next to me, and she's I'm like she was taking forever. She's saying, "I'm in room. Can you please and make sure?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine, but let's go." Anyway, I was saying disparaging things about her when he was standing next to me. It's an odd story and doesn't really move the show forward.
He likes to be abused, so don't worry about it. He liked that. I do have to plug the Substack because Shattuck does I don't even know what you call it, a portrayal of Potato Head Steltler, and his fetish. He wants to be abused by Jen Psaki. He wants to bend over, tell me how I could do it better, mommy. And, essentially it was a fantasy. Did you see, and I forget the name, we do this every day. Cancel culture is out of control. I think we're going to get to, if we have time, we're going to get to the ESPN woman who got fired for 9-year-old tweets that they knew about when they hired her, but someone started to, attacking, and, some activist went on the attack and they fired her. But this could be, and I keep saying this, I've said it so much for a year, this could be the most outrageous example of cancel. Someone tweeted about Steltler and compared him to the GIMP. That was in my Substack too. Yeah, you wrote it. It's what's the guy's name who tweeted? He compared it, like you, saying that Steltler's into pain, into abuse. The GIMP is one of the most famous, masochists in movies. In Pulp Fiction, he's all clad in leather and they have him chained up, and that's his thing. They compared Steltler to the GIMP. They get suspended from Twitter.
No.
Yes. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine someone saying that about, whoever, Sean Hannity or Tucker or whatever, any Jesse Waters, or saying it about Trump, for crying out loud, and getting suspended by Twitter?
That is
Twitter
psychotic.
Is circling the wagons around this cartoon character, this big, round, lispy snowflake. And Twitter will not let you attack him. But
the thing is that with the Stelter, after he asks these questions and asks to be flogged and violated by her, and she's taken aback by it because she knows it's going to be easy, but she doesn't expect him to present her with a baseball bat and say, "Beat me to death." But when she's making points, he moans and groans, and you can see him say, He's seriously aroused by what she's saying. And he's like, when she said, "Well, the media, you guys have atrophied over the past 4 years," and she said, he goes, wow. In his eyes, his eyes are a big tell. You can tell when he's starting to really get into something.
He is creepy, and I think I had nightmares for like 3 days after I saw that video of him doing his show on Zoom with no pants.
Ugh.
He is you're right. He's a creep, and he likes the abuse. And I think he's kind of become the face of this, media, the American media now. This big, round, bald face.
Yeah,
he's like 28 years old or something. He's 20 years younger than Tucker Carlson.
Well, who, by the way, I want to see you get your shot, Tucker. I want to see Hannity get a shot in the arm. I want to see the needle plunge into the arms of Lou Dobbs over there.
Yes, what's wrong with you people? Why don't you take out selfies of when you get vaccinated? Yeah. Anyway, we got to get to a couple other things. Shall I do Shay here, Callahan?
Yes.
We got to get to, there were some white supremacists at Fenway last night. And Bob Kraft celebrated a birthday. And and I'm going to explain to you how Bob Kraft is a good guy, a good man. Not just because he got a pretty ridiculous birthday present, but because of the reaction to it. I'll get to that as soon as I tell you about Shea Concrete. First of all, I want to tell you, Shea Concrete's a great company that you'd be lucky to work for. The people who work there like it. They treat their people right, and they're always hiring because they're expanding. And this week, Saturday, June 12th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., they're having a job fair. They have at least 30 career opportunities open up. This could be the place for you. If you're looking for a job, check it out. If you have a job and you're looking for a better job, this might be the place for you. This job fair is in Amesbury at their main facility from 8 a.m. to noon. This is a 70-year-old family business that treats people right. They have plants all over Massachusetts and New Hampshire. They are hiring in all of them. Go there, see if it's a good fit. What do you got to lose? You got a lot to gain. A career, a job. The Shea Concrete main office, main plant in Amesbury, 8 a.m. to noon, right up in Shattuck's neighborhood. Maybe Shattuck's got 12 jobs already, but he also has 12 kids, so we could always use another one. You look like you'd be good at Shea. Get your
Jay, Gerry, I've checked out their website before, actually, to check on jobs, actually, for my wife. But yeah. I just saw them yesterday. All the trucks up there and a huge American flag.
They do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like every place that has trucks and working people have American flags. Some have Trump flags. Some, have explicatives.
That's right. Pickup trucks, Gerry.
There are a lot of pickup trucks. These are people who make America work. Do you think does Mara Gay contribute anything to society? The people she's talking about with pickup trucks and flags, American flags, those are the people, they're the backbone of the country. They're the ones that make the country go. Not you and the editorial board at the New York Times. Not you, Joe Scarborough, you philandering slime. Not you, Mika, you wife-stealing creep. Not you, Mike Barnacle. Where do you begin with Mike Barnacle and Willie Geist? These people are just disgusting. But
it's funny you mentioned Fenway because Barnacle was the big conduit when I worked at the radio station where he worked. Barnacle was the guy you'd go to for Sox tickets. He had an in.
Yes, he hangs out with the owners. It's no surprise. The owners. I was thinking of the owners of the Boston Red Sox, John Henry, a billionaire who's won 4 World Series and still no one likes him. And every day he wakes up, his wife wakes up and says, "Why don't they like me? Why don't they like me like they like Bob Kraft?" Well, anytime you see a story about Kraft and people praising Kraft or Kraft getting away with that awful sex crime in Florida, that just drives John Henry nuts. John Henry and Linda Pizzuti wanted nothing more than to see naked photos of Bob Kraft.
When Kraft has sex, Gerry, it's human trafficking.
Old widow with a consenting adult. She gave him a massage, gave him a little extra. He paid a price. It was embarrassing. She paid a steeper price, but it was a big deal. But the Globe worked overtime to get the video. They failed. It's one of the great disappointments in John Henry's career, Linda Pizzuti's career. They did not get to see Little Bobby in all its glory. At least not yet. I'm sure they're still working on it. But I guarantee you yesterday or today, if John Henry and Linda Pizzuti and Tom Werner, for that matter, see this video of Bob Kraft getting a birthday. Bob Kraft turned 80 yesterday. Happy birthday, Bob Kraft. A good guy, a regular guy, a generous guy, does a lot for charity. People like him. His friends really like him. His friends, including Meek Mill, Michael Rubin, and Jay-Z, I guess, split it. As far as we know, they all threw in and bought him a new Bentley. It's the Bent he wanted. This is his favorite Bent. In fact, he said he couldn't get this Bent on his own. He needed help from his friends, and they delivered it right to his front doorstep. Is this where is he?
Weird. I can start and stop this, but where does he get these friends? How does this play out? He's an 80-year-old man hanging out. How old's Meek Mill? 35? I don't even know.
And Jay, I mean, it is bizarre. It is bizarre. I've read the story. I got a lot of questions, like how much it costs. Bob Kraft could not get this car on his own. And you really have to be comfortable in your own skin to think this doesn't make you look, like I don't know, like a white privileged kind of spoiled old man.
Well, it's not an American flag. It's a Bentley or whatever.
Yeah.
What, did they say where this is? Is this in Massachusetts or down in Florida? Where is he?
I assumed he was in California. I think all these guys live in California. I could be wrong.
But Crafts has places everywhere. I think he just bought another place in New York. I mean, his team's worth almost $4 billion, so he can afford it. But they deliver the birthday present to his front door. Is this Michael Rubin? It must be. It's not Meek Mill, and it's not Jay-Z. But here they are delivering the new Bent to Kraft on his 80th birthday.
We knew you wouldn't get it yourself. You know, you went all in for this house, so we thought it was going to be tough for you. So we thought we were going to get you the car that you were looking at.
Oh my God, look at that. That's exactly what. Oh man.
This came from Meek and Jay and Will and Alan and Des and Jonathan.
God, that's exact. How the fudge did you get it?
Because
we couldn't get
We
it.
have resources. It came from Florida. It's been driving on a flatbed for a long time. We all spent hours making it for us.
Look at this. He's walking up to his new Bentley and it's a birthday card on the windshield.
This was
Happy birthday with all the signatures.
Who do you think made the big birthday card? Do you think Jay-Z made the big birthday
Jay-Z,
card?
yeah. No, I think Beyonce did it for him. Yes. He listed all the people who I guess pitched in to get this car, which I'm going to guess is worth $400,000.
Yeah.
And you know what? Kraft probably did something for them because he's a generous guy and they're reciprocating.
Kraft got Meek Mill out of prison, didn't he? He was like
good point.
the main person to fight
Was that the girlfriend back there too?
I think it might have been what's her name?
Oh yeah, what is her? I forget her name now.
I'm drawing a blank now, but so is that? We don't know. Is that Massachusetts or is that L.A.? Where is he?
I think he's in L.A. Ricky Lander. That's
Ricky Lander, right? Ricky Lander, the fine Ricky Lander, and they were going to get him a massage for his birthday, but you know he gets those all the time. So they got him a new Bent, and only Kraft could get away with this. If that were John Henry, if that were whoever the owner of the Celtics or whatever, people would be mocking the hell out of it. There were some people mocking it, but Patriots fans love this guy so much they were busy attacking the people who attacked Kraft. That's what they did yesterday because Kraft does a lot for other people, and you know it wasn't his decision to buy the Bentley; it was his friends.
If a Bentley's a Bent, what is a 2011 burnt orange Dodge Caravan like I have? What cool name does that have?
That would be a piece of crap. You know, that's a safe vehicle.
Actually, hold on. It could be his new Hamptons home. It was a $43 million Hamptons home that he just bought. Got it. That's why he can't afford it.
That's Long Island, Jerry.
Hamptons $43 million house. Yeah,
that's Long Island. You know what that
good.
means? White supremacists everywhere. They probably have Confederate flags everywhere. But
Jerry, don't you hope that Mara Gay was at that Sox game?
Yes. Let's get to that Sox game before we finish up here. This Sox game last night. Now I realize this means nothing. This, you know, the idea that the election was rigged and all that. We've gone over it many times. It was rigged, but mostly by big tech and big media. You know, mostly by Facebook and Twitter and Google, who wouldn't allow the Hunter Biden story to break. That suspended any right wingers. There's a million. New York Post banned the New York Post. I mean, they went all in on Biden and they helped him get elected. That's that's indisputable in my mind. But anyway, there are people who still say Trump won, and that's fine. People said Hillary won for years after Trump won. But they're just so wonderfully mischievous. They had a sign at Yankee Stadium, whatever that was, a couple of weeks ago. Yesterday, they showed up at Fenway. This takes some dedication. You got to get in the game. You got to smuggle that in the game. Huge banner that says Trump won in center field. It's like you unfurl it, and 5 seconds later they drag you out and take the banner down, and they said that they were kicked out and they'll be banned. I mean, this is typical. We know the Red Sox think everybody in the center field bleachers are racist, white supremacists, Klans, Nazis. That's typical. They're not surprised. That's where they put the white supremacists who yell racial slurs at players. But there was applause when they unfurled.
Yes, there was a lot of applause and people standing up, clapping, standing up for whiteness.
I applaud just because I know how much the owners, management, they're all a bunch of radical lefties. Henry, they hated Trump. I mean, they hang out with Mike Barnacle and Joe Scarborough. That's what they do. They're hardcore lefties, and they hated Trump, and that's just going to tweak them a little bit. It's not long. It's not a big deal, but I respect the play. I respect the hustle.
They got to shut that entire area down. Remember, it used to be shut down, center field.
It still is. I think in the daytime. No, at the nighttime. Whatever. It's only open daytime, right? So nighttime they have to have black there so the players, they shut it down when someone got hit in the face. Was it Tony C?
Really, was that it?
They couldn't pick up the ball in the background, so they shut it down sometimes and leave it open sometimes. But when they leave it open, they only let white supremacists sit there, and they kind of, they have sections now for vaccinated and unvaccinated. The Red Sox put all the white supremacists in center field, and they taunt the players and they unfurl the. Where do you put that banner? My first question is always, how do you get that in?
God, that's good. It's a great question.
How do you sneak that in?
You can get that pretty small into a pot. You can get it in your pocket. Those things are.
I don't know. Man.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah.
Does the team take it away? Like, do they confiscate it?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they. I guess you could hand it to him, let him walk out with it. But yeah, you can sneak that in. That's easy.
Is Bob Stanley still around? Do they, like with the beach balls? Do they just take a rake to it?
If I can get my nips of Pink Whitney inside Fenway Park, I think these guys can get a flag in.
Well, I respect it, and they'll do it again. They'll keep doing it. I'm sure there's this cult online that's talking to each other about when they're going to do it next, when they're going to strike next. It just, it means nothing, but I respect the hustle and the sacrifice. It was the fourth inning, and they probably didn't want to hang around anyway because it was boring. So they said, let's just do the banner now, get it over with, and get out of here. Remember last year, or was it 2 years ago? No, it'd be last year.
It was last year.
They but nobody was at the games. Nobody was paying attention. But there was some video of them unfurling a Trump for president flag during the.
It must have been 2019
Again,
then.
I respect it because I know it annoys the hell out of the Red Sox owners, and the people who did it will never be able to get inside again. They'll have facial recognition and all that, and they won't let them inside the place again. But.
Anyway. Will Manny Familia's son be thrown out the first pitch at Fenway?
It's a good question. He was at the Worcester Red Sox. My friend Larry Lucchino made sure of that. They honored him. Manny Familia's the cop, the heroic cop, 38-year-old Worcester cop who jumped in a pond to save some kids, including a 14-year-old boy who didn't make it. It is amazing. There were other cops and other firemen who were there, and some were in the water, and they were all struggling to get the kids, and Manny, went for it. I said, you can't find something more heroic or more selfless than that.
Absolutely.
Officer Familia didn't make it. Liz Warren and Ayanna Pressley don't care. They didn't know about it.
But I think I'd love to see John Henry and Linda make a gesture at Fenway Park to honor the kid, to honor the dad.
Well, there you go. Tom Shattuck puts the call out to the Red Sox to honor. You know what?
What kind of message would they send, though, Jerry?
Here's the difference. If the Patriots were in season, 100% Kraft would honor Manny Familia's family, and that kid would meet, Tom Brady or, whatever, meet Mac Jones and Bill Belichick. He would roll out the red carpet. That's what he does. The Red Sox sometimes do it, but, Henry's so aloof and just out of touch that he doesn't think of these things. Kraft does. Kraft's family, they do. And
but he's got the big Black Lives Matter sign. He's got the Black Lives Matter sign. It's one of the largest, Jerry.
I believe it might be the largest. I mean, it is massive. It is massive. And the Antifa sign's not as big, but it's pretty big. And they do, and they have I think they're going to have a statue out there by the Ted Williams statue of someone throwing a Molotov cocktail at a police cruiser. Those are their people. But. All right, Shattuck. Again, you could check out Tom Shattuck's Substack. He has a funny, good, colorful column. Did you get any blowback on that? Because when I read that one, I said, this could never, ever run in the Lowell Sun of the Boston Herald.
No, I know. I don't usually work blue, Jerry, but I had to. I mean, the porn that I saw on TV had to be documented somewhere. But no, I haven't banned it.
It was perfect because Brian Stelter deserves all the derision you can come up with. He deserves to be mocked and ridiculed relentlessly, and I can't get enough of it. He is a clown, and you certainly clowned him in this column. So check that out at Just tell me again, Substack.
TomShattuck.substack.com.
TomShattuck.substack.com. You can help support the Shattuck clan, all the kids and all the farm animals. And thank you for my Gerry Callahan chicken shirt. We got
Little
chicken
Gerry
shirt.
Callahan,
Little
yes.
Gerry Callahan,
Those are selling, Jerry. It's cottage industry.
How do you get one if you want one? Mine, I gotta say, and I did this for a reason, but I gave it to my son who's bigger. It was a little big on me, and he loved
really?
it. Yes, he loved it. So he's.
So what do you usually wear? Large?
I'm between large and X. Depends. I could dry it, I suppose, and shrink it up, but he's big and he likes form-fitting T-shirts, so he's loving it. But and my wife loves hers too. Did you get one, Callahan?
I didn't get one. No, Shattuck doesn't send me things. He doesn't treat me like the talent. He treats me like a little producer. He doesn't treat me.
That was the other thing. Kraft's friends gave him for his birthday a little Gerry Callahan T-shirt to go with the Bentley. But you can get them. How do you get them if you want one, Shattuck?
You can go to burnbarrelpodcast.com. Burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's all that stuff there, including all the other things. But there should be some good Barstool. There's some fats at the Barstool, Dave. Maybe you can get me a XXX.
Yeah, there are some fats. Callahan's going to have so much swag very soon. Very soon.
Well, look, I don't know how to comment on that, guys. You're sure as shit not going to get any free stuff. You never treated me with respect, so I know that much.
Yeah, you'll never see anyone that'll leave his old friends in the dust like Callahan. He won't even remember our name, Shattuck.
And to bring up a point that you like to talk about, Jerry, I believe you did furnish Callahan with a key to a certain exclusive club.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Lost.
Here we go.
No,
Yeah.
it's worse than losing. He lost and he lied about it.
I did not lie about it. If it was on my end, then I dropped it on my way back to you because I was at your car. All right, we don't need to.
Hey, you're lying. You're
I'm not
lying, and you know it. You're a liar.
I will go.
You're a liar, and I'm gonna be tell your new boss.
All the time. You tell the same goddamn story on this podcast.
This
12
is overly defensive.
He just brought it up. I didn't bring it up. He brought it up. I proved you're lying because he said he left it on the windshield of my car, and it must have fallen off. My car didn't go anywhere from the time he did it. I hadn't driven, and it wasn't there. So he lied.
That is,
I told his new boss all about this, and he hired him anyway.
I told you. That? I said that is what I believe I did. I was at your car. I went back. Go check the camera footage. All right, I was there.
I did, and you're not on it. You're lying.
Bullshit. You're a liar.
Oh,
you're lying now.
Did you have a couple of Pink Whitneys that day? Because you're drawn, it's all blank.
Yeah, 4:00 in the morning.
So when Matt Carano's fully trained, Jerry, does he get a key? The new guy, the new Callahan?
Well, I don't have any keys anymore. Not only did this idiot lose my key, he lost his own key.
Oh yeah, that's why I had your key. Yeah, I had lost.
He lost both our keys to the Legacy Club, and I'm still getting invited to events there, but I can't go because I don't have a key. That's what a dope he is. But
Legacy of Destruction.
Anyway, we'll update we'll do the producer search update tomorrow, Callahan.
Okay.
All right, because I need to hear your take.
My guy's been going in and out from his car doing. I mean, he's got his shit together. So.
Is he going out and drinking a little? What's he doing? A little smoke?
I don't know what he's doing out there. I don't know. I can't bash him. He's got some stuff on his resume that I can't touch.
That's true.
There's a history with this guy. I can't mess with.
I don't think he could take him as the kid.
Was he into terrestrial radio?
No, which is the compliment to him. Yeah. Yep. He doesn't want to be degraded. He wouldn't come on the show and say degrade me.
He's got some pride.
Yeah.
He's got some pride. All right, Shattuck. That is Tom Shattuck from the Burn Barrel Podcast and a prolific Substacker and farmer. He's got how many chickens do you have?
Oh, I don't want to go into it. I have 12 now, but my wife just ordered 25 more. It's a point of contention. I don't know why, Jerry. I'm pissed off. I was happy that the hawks had thinned out the herd because chicken shit all over the driveway and 100 degrees does not smell good.
What do you just get eggs? What else do you get from them? Joy?
Well, actually, a couple of them, like little Gerry Callahan, are kind of cool. They'll follow you around. You turn over a rock with all sorts of disgusting insects, and they'll go in there and massacre all the insects.
Oh, that is kind of fun. So you have like 40 chickens?
Yeah, which is not. We don't have a huge yard, so this is going to be a problem. But if anybody's in the chicken market, reach out.
It's amazing that
why don't you take some up to Maine, Jerry?
Why? Why would I want to do that? I got a
for
dog.
eggs. Conversation piece.
You know what? I just went to the grocery store the other night. Eggs were $1.99 a dozen. Why would I want to buy chickens when I could just buy a dozen eggs? That doesn't make any sense. It's like why I don't go hunting. You know why I
Buying
don't go
them
hunting?
is
Because you can go
buying
to
the
the
eggs is
store and you can
whiteness,
buy the
Gerry.
meat already killed for you.
That's whiteness. That's what's happening right
That
there.
was my white privilege.
Yeah.
You're going to go toil. You're going to work the land today, which is amazing that you still have time to go to the gym and to
I'm
write.
going to the gym today. I'm getting more ripped than ever. Today's
I
legs.
noticed that.
Yep. I can't wait when I see you guys in person. I'm working on glutes Thursday.
You know what we'll do? We'll all go to the Legacy Club and we'll hang out in the sidewalk outside because we can't get in because we don't have keys. So you and I, and we'll have we'll do a show on the sidewalk. How's that?
That'd be entertaining.
I mean, you had
Yeah, 'cause
keys.
there's
What
a
happened?
couple of-
Yeah, no, it's your problem at this point. I don't give a shit anymore. It's your problem. All right. It's your
Oh
problem.
yeah, that is true. He does not care anymore. It's amazing. He even shows up in the morning. But all right, Shattuck, good show. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
And we will be talking to you again soon. And thanks to Shea Concrete. Don't forget their job fair this Saturday morning at Allied Paving at DCU, and everybody for listening and for watching on YouTube. And thanks for all the comments. I didn't have time to read them all. Any good ones, Callahan?
Yeah, just making fun of our friend Marigay there at the New York
Yes,
Times.
Good. She deserves to be ridiculed and mocked forever. What a joke. Mara, how do you say it? Mara Gay.
Yep.
Man, that was fun. That was funny. All right, Callahan, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we'll do it again tomorrow.